You pour out your heart in fervent prayer, pleading for peace, for guidance, for an end to the ceaseless turmoil within. Yet, the silence that greets you feels less like divine contemplation and more like an echoing void, leaving you exhausted, frustrated, and more adrift than before. Paramahansa Yogananda, the master yogi who walked among us, once said, "True prayer is not a desperate plea to an external deity, but an internal science of aligning your will with the infinite will, a sovereign command that unlocks the very treasure of your soul." But what if the very act of praying, as you've been taught, is precisely what's keeping you from the inner clarity and unshakable peace you crave? This isn't another soft-spoken sermon on positive thinking or a superficial guide to manifesting your desires. This is a surgical incision into the very core of your spiritual practice, a confrontation with the fundamental misconception that has rendered your deepest pleas powerless. We are not here to comfort your ego. We are here to ignite your spirit. For too long, you have been taught that prayer is a request, a humble petition to an omnipotent force outside yourself. This understanding, however well-intentioned, is a subtle form of spiritual disempowerment, a perpetuation of the very illusion of separation that Yogananda and the Stoic sages sought to dismantle. Your frustration is not a sign of spiritual weakness. It is the sacred alarm of your soul, screaming for authenticity, for a connection that transcends mere ritual. The ceaseless mental chatter, the gnawing anxiety that refuses to yield, the persistent feeling that something profound is missing despite your devout efforts. These are not random afflictions. They are symptoms of a deeper ailment, the spiritual impotence born from a misunderstanding of prayer itself. You are not a beggar at the gates of the divine. You are a spark of the divine, a microcosm of the boundless consciousness that orchestrates the cosmos. The common enemy here is not some external demonic force, but the insidious noise of the ego and the illusion of separation from the divine, whispering doubts and orchestrating your spiritual powerlessness. Consider the Stoic perspective, an ancient wisdom that resonates profoundly with yogic truths. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor, did not pray for external outcomes, but for inner strength, for the wisdom to accept what he could not control, and the courage to change what he could. His prayers were internal directives, conscious alignments with universal reason, not supplications for personal favor. Yogananda, similarly, taught that the highest form of prayer is not asking for things, but attuning oneself to God's will, becoming an instrument of the divine. This is where the profound hidden pain of prayers feeling unheard, of ceaseless mental chatter, and the unfulfilled longing for profound inner peace finds its diagnosis and its potential cure. You've been conditioned to believe that the divine is a distant entity, a cosmic vending machine dispensing blessings upon request. This transactional view of spirituality breeds disappointment and fosters a sense of unworthiness when your orders go unfulfilled. But what if the treasure you seek, that unshakable peace, that crystal clear inner guidance, that profound sense of purpose, is not an external reward to be granted, but an inherent state of your being, obscured by the very methods you employ to find it? What if the key lies not in speaking to God, but in speaking as God, from the deepest chamber of your awakened consciousness? This profound shift in perspective is not merely philosophical, it is intensely practical. It is the difference between a life of spiritual anxiety and a life of spiritual sovereignty. The primary emotional trigger we aim to activate here is not merely hope, but a profound sense of empowerment, a clarity that slices through the fog of confusion, and an undeniable connection to your highest self. You are about to discover a formula for prayer that doesn't just ask for blessings, but actively awakens them from within. It is a science, a spiritual technology, that demands not blind faith, but conscious discipline and an unwavering will to reclaim your divine inheritance. This is the promise of Yogananda's teachings, harmonized with the practical resilience of Stoicism, to transform your prayers from whispers of desperation into decrees of destiny. It is the path to awakening the true treasure within you, a treasure that no external circumstance can diminish or destroy. This is the inner clarity that cuts through all illusions, and the peace that defies all chaos. The journey begins when you dare to question the very foundation of your spiritual understanding. Tell me, what is one spiritual experience or realization that completely shifted your understanding of prayer? Share it, in one word or a brief sentence, in the comments below. Let your truth illuminate this sacred space. You stand at a precipice. Below lies the familiar landscape of frustrated longing. Above, the peak of spiritual mastery. To ascend, you must first dismantle the erroneous maps you've been given. Are you ready to discard the illusion of separation, to transcend the supplicant mentality, and to embrace the formidable power of true communion, transforming your entire spiritual landscape? The journey you are embarking on is an archaeological dig into the deepest layers of your soul. We begin by unearthing the core wound that keeps your prayers from reaching the divine, the underlying cause of that frustrating silence you've too often experienced. The very moment you uttered that plea in the hook, a crucial, often unseen battle began, not with an indifferent cosmos, but within the intricate labyrinth of your own consciousness. What you didn't know then, what your soul suspected but your ego vehemently denied, was that your prayers were being intercepted, filtered, and often silenced by a relentless internal adversary, the noise of the ego. This isn't a vague psychological concept. It's a profound spiritual reality rooted in the ancient wisdom of Yogananda and the stark realism of Stoicism. Imagine your heart as a celestial radio, capable of tuning into the infinite broadcast of divine intelligence. Your ego, however, acts as a jamming signal, an incessant static that overwhelms the sacred frequency. This common enemy thrives on fear, doubt, and the illusion of separation, convincing you that you are small, unworthy, and inherently disconnected from the very source you seek. This is the silent conspiracy against your spiritual sovereignty. From a yogic perspective, every unfulfilled longing, every repetitive pattern of suffering, is a whisper of karma unresolved, a lesson unlearned. Your prayers for peace, for clarity, for treasure, often arise from a place of perceived lack, from the very anxieties that karma has woven into your consciousness. You are not just praying, you are unwittingly bringing the accumulated emotional baggage of past actions, past desires, and past attachments to the feet of the divine. This isn't to say your prayers are invalid, but that they are often burdened, heavy with the very energy of the problem you're trying to escape. Consider a crucial moment, perhaps a time in your life when you poured every ounce of your being into a single prayer, expecting a breakthrough, only to be met with profound disappointment. This wasn't a divine rejection. It was the echo of a deeply ingrained pattern. Perhaps in a past life, or even early in this one, a powerful decision was made, a subconscious vow, or a trauma was experienced that imprinted a core belief. I am alone, or my desires are not heard, or I must fight for everything I receive. This isn't mere speculation. It's the eternal dance of cause and effect, the spiritual physics of your existence. Your soul remembers these imprints, and until they are consciously acknowledged and transmuted, they will continue to dictate the reception of your most earnest pleas. The Stoics, in their profound practicality, understood this internal hijacking. Seneca, in his letters, repeatedly emphasized that true freedom comes from within, from mastering one's own mind and emotions, rather than seeking external validation or relying on fickle fortune. They would argue that to pray for something without first mastering your own internal state, without purging the noise of attachment and expectation, is akin to trying to fill a leaky bucket. The water of divine grace pours in, but it cannot be retained, because the vessel of your consciousness is riddled with holes of doubt and identification with the ego's narrative. This hidden pain, the frustration of prayers feeling unheard, the ceaseless mental chatter, is not a curse. It is a beacon, illuminating the precise points where your ego has usurped your spiritual authority. It reveals where you are still operating from a scarcity mindset, where you are clinging to control, and where you are inadvertently reinforcing the very illusion of separation you seek to transcend. The perceived silence is not an absence of divine presence. It is the loud static of your own unexamined internal world. The divine is always broadcasting, but are you truly tuned in? Or are you perpetually caught in the self-made storm of your own thoughts and fears? Yogananda taught that one must approach God with scientific precision and unwavering devotion. He didn't advocate for passive begging, but for an active, conscious, and intensely focused attunement of the will. He knew that the divine is not a distant judge, but the all-pervading consciousness that is your very essence. The problem is not God's willingness to listen, but your capacity to truly hear, to truly connect beyond the clamor of your own desires and attachments. This initial understanding is not meant to discourage you, but to empower you, to realize that the impediment to your prayers is internal rather than external, is to reclaim your power. It is to recognize that the treasure you seek, peace, clarity, spiritual wealth, is not waiting for you beyond the stars, but lies buried beneath the debris of your own egoic construction. The divine is not withholding. You are simply not in a state of reception. Understanding the origin of this spiritual impotence is merely the first step. You've identified the static, but to clear the channel, you must confront the very mechanisms of defense your ego has erected. The real battle has just begun, and it will be fought on the most intimate terrain imaginable, your own mind. Are you prepared to face the internal saboteur, to witness how your own patterns and beliefs have been systematically obstructing your deepest connection to the divine? You now stand on the precipice of an inner war, a spiritual battlefield where the ego wages its fiercest campaigns against the awakening soul. The mini cliffhanger from our last exploration beckoned you to confront the internal saboteur, and here, the confrontation becomes visceral. This isn't a metaphorical struggle. It's a tangible process of discerning the divine signal amidst the cacophony of your own mind. The ascent toward true prayer, as taught by Yogananda and fortified by Stoic resilience, is not a gentle climb, but a rigorous spiritual funnel, tightening with each test, escalating the emotional cost, yet promising an unparalleled treasure, unshakable inner peace and profound clarity. The initial phase of this inner war manifests in your reactions to the external world. You yearn for peace, for quietude, for a serene environment to pray. Yet the modern world relentlessly assaults your senses. The constant notifications, the demanding schedules, the opinions of others, the global chaos, these aren't merely inconveniences. They are strategic distractions deployed by the ego, convincing you that your spiritual progress is contingent upon external circumstances. You find yourself reactive, constantly battling against the outer current, believing that if only the world would quiet down, your divine connection would flourish. But this is the ego's first deception. The battlefield is not outside, but within. Stoicism offers the first crucial weapon here, the distinction between what you can and cannot control. Marcus Aurelius emphasized that external events are indifferent, adiaphora. It is your judgment, your reaction, that causes suffering. When you pray for the removal of an external obstacle, a difficult boss, a financial strain, a noisy neighbor, you are inadvertently granting power to the external, reinforcing the belief that your inner peace is vulnerable. Yogananda, with equal emphasis, taught the principle of equanimity, remaining inwardly undisturbed amidst outer turbulence. He didn't preach withdrawal from the world, but detachment from its fleeting dramas. The fight here is to reclaim your mind's agency, to stop attributing your inner turmoil to external events. Can you discern the divine will amidst the world's chaotic symphony? Or will you allow the ego to continually dictate your internal state based on external stimuli? As you begin to master your reactions to the external, the battle intensifies and retreats inward. confronting you with the raw, unvarnished contents of your own consciousness. This is where the common enemy, the noise of the ego, launches its most formidable offensive, a barrage of doubts, fears, anxieties, and limiting beliefs. You attempt to meditate, to pray, to connect, and suddenly your mind floods with every past mistake, every future worry, every perceived inadequacy. This isn't spiritual regression. It's the ego's desperate attempt to maintain control as your soul begins to stir. It will whisper, "You're not good enough. Your prayers are meaningless. This is futile." Yogananda described the mind as a restless monkey, perpetually jumping from one thought to another. True prayer in this context is not merely saying words, but focusing this monkey mind with an unyielding will. This is where the Stoic discipline of mental fortitude perfectly complements yogic dharma. Seneca spoke of the necessity of training the mind, of steeling it against internal disturbances. He viewed destructive thoughts not as parts of oneself, but as intruders to be expelled. Your doubts about divine connection are not objective truths. They are the ego's projections, designed to keep you from the treasure of your own inner clarity. The cost of engaging in this internal battle is your perceived sanity, your immediate comfort, and the very illusion of control you've cherished. The ego will fight dirty, using your deepest fears against you. Are you willing to confront these internal demons, not with brute force, but with the focused light of your consciousness, knowing that your eternal self is observing this struggle unafraid? The deepest truth of this inner war, the ultimate paradox, is that victory is found not in conquest, but in profound, conscious surrender. You've battled external distractions, wrestled with internal doubts, and now you face the ultimate choice: persist in egoic struggle, or surrender your illusion of control to a higher divine will. This is the moment where the spiritual funnel constricts to its narrowest point. Karma dictates that you must face the consequences of your past actions, the anxieties stemming from unintegrated experiences. Trying to force peace through sheer willpower is another subtle egoic trick. Yogananda taught that one must deeply attune to the divine. This attunement is not passive. It's an active surrender of the small self to the boundless self. It's the recognition that your desires, while valid, must be placed within the larger context of God's will for your soul's evolution. The Stoic concept of amor fati, love of fate, finds its eternal echo here. It's not passive resignation, but an active embrace of what is, understanding that even the most challenging circumstances are opportunities for growth, orchestrated by a wisdom far greater than your individual mind. To surrender is to step out of the ego's perpetual cycle of reaction and into the sovereign stillness of divine observation. The cost of refusing to surrender is the continued perpetuation of your hidden pain, the endless search for peace outside yourself, the frustration of unheard prayers, the gnawing anxiety. The choice is stark: continue to fight a losing battle on the ego's terms, or consciously yield to the profound power that lies beyond individual effort. This is not about giving up. It's about giving in to the divine current that always flows. This spiritual funnel demands that you let go of your grip, trusting that the treasure of inner clarity and peace awaits beyond this point of complete vulnerability. How do you, a finite being, truly surrender your individual will to the infinite, transforming frantic pleas into a sovereign command that resonates with the very fabric of the cosmic consciousness, thereby resolving the very paradox that brought you to this path? We arrive at the crescendo, the sacred moment where the lead of your suffering, purified in the crucible of inner confrontation, transmutes into the gold of awakened consciousness. The profound mini cliffhanger from the previous section challenged you to understand how a finite being surrenders to the infinite, transforming frantic pleas into a sovereign command that resonates with cosmic consciousness. This is not merely a philosophical concept. It is the alchemical formula of Yogananda's prayer, amplified by Stoic mastery, a process that culminates in the symbolic death of the ego and the radiant rebirth of the soul. The answer lies not in a more elaborate petition, but in a profound shift in your internal posture, moving from a position of begging to one of absolute divine decree. This is Yogananda's science of devotion, where sincere willpower is merged with an intense focus of consciousness and a surrender of the ego. It is not you forcing the outcome, but you becoming an open channel for the divine will to flow through. The problem was never the divine's ability to hear, but your own consciousness's ability to clearly broadcast and receive. The alchemical formula, the sovereign command. This formula is a threefold internal process, a spiritual technology that bridges the perceived gap between your individual soul and the infinite consciousness. Concentration, yogic willpower. Yogananda taught that the first step in effective prayer is intense concentration. This isn't mere focus. It's a laser-like direction of your mental and emotional energy, gathering all scattered thoughts and directing them towards a single point, your connection with the divine. The ego's noise, the very common enemy we've discussed, thrives on distraction. To cut through it, you must develop an unyielding willpower, not to get something, but to be present, fully, with the divine within. This is where Stoic discipline, particularly the rigorous training of attention and the refusal to be swayed by fleeting impulses, becomes crucial. You are commanding your own consciousness to align, to cease its rebellious chatter. This step builds the internal antenna, affirmation and visualization, divine identity. Once concentration is achieved, you shift from asking to affirming. Instead of saying, "Please give me peace," you state with absolute conviction, "I am peace. I am a channel for divine peace." The divine within me expresses itself as perfect clarity. This is not wishful thinking. It's a declaration of your inherent divine nature, a remembrance of the Atman, soul, as part of Brahman, absolute. Yogananda encouraged visualizing the desired outcome not as a future event but as a present reality flowing from your connection to God. You see the treasure of inner clarity and unshakable peace not as something to be gained, but as something to be unveiled from within. This step transmits the clear signal: surrender and devotion, cosmic flow. This is the ultimate crucial step, resolving the paradox of individual will and divine will. After concentrating and affirming, you then consciously surrender the outcome, not with resignation, but with profound devotion and trust. You release the attachment to how the divine will respond, or when. You recognize that your soul's dharma is to be an instrument, and that the cosmic consciousness knows the highest good. This is where Bhakti Yoga, the path of devotion, merges with Stoic amor fati, love of fate. You offer your concentrated affirmation as an offering, then step back, allowing the divine to orchestrate. This isn't passive, it's an active choice to allow the divine grace to flow. Knowing that the infinite will always act in accordance with your soul's eternal evolution, this step ensures the signal is received and transformed. The cataclysmic shift, death of the ego, rebirth of the soul. As you consistently practice this sovereign command, something profound occurs. The ego, accustomed to its role as the demanding supplicant, begins to dissolve. Its noise subsides because its power source, your identification with limited self, is being cut off. You no longer seek validation or solace from external sources because you are reconnecting with the boundless treasure within. The hidden pain of feeling unheard and restless mind is not merely alleviated, it is transmuted. You realize that the divine was never silent. You were simply tuning into the wrong frequency, the static of your own limiting beliefs and attachments. This isn't just a change in your prayer life, it's a ceremonial death of the old self and a glorious rebirth of the soul. The inner clarity you gain is not intellectual. It's an intuitive knowing, a direct perception of divine truth that bypasses the rational mind. The peace that emerges is not a fleeting emotion. It's a profound state of equanimity, an unshakable inner fortress, as the Stoics would say. that no external chaos can penetrate. You become a living embodiment of Yogananda's teachings, a conscious co-creator with the divine, not a passive recipient. This transformation, this awakening, is the ultimate treasure. It is the realization that you are not a separate entity crying out in the void, but an eternal expression of the very cosmic consciousness you seek. The paradox is resolved. Your surrender is your command. Your alignment is your power. Now take a moment. In one raw, unfiltered word or a short phrase, what is the deepest fear or doubt that still whispers to you when you try to connect with the divine? What is the one thing your ego clings to most fiercely, even now? Share it in the comments below, for in naming it, you begin to disarm it. Having unveiled this potent formula, having witnessed the alchemical process within, what remains is the challenge of integrating this awakened consciousness into the fabric of your daily existence. How do you maintain this sovereign command amidst the relentless demands of the world, ensuring this newfound treasure becomes the very foundation of your being, rather than a fleeting glimpse of divine possibility? The spiritual alchemy has reached its zenith. You have moved beyond the realm of mere intellectual understanding and into the profound experience of divine communion. The last cliffhanger challenged you with the question of how to maintain this sovereign command amidst the world's relentless demands, how to solidify this newfound treasure as the very foundation of your being. This section is not about returning to normalcy, but about embracing a new normal, a life lived as a conscious channel of awakened treasure, unshakable peace, and crystal clear inner clarity. The transformation you've undergone is not a temporary spiritual high. It is a permanent recalibration of your consciousness. The ego's noise, once the dominant static, has receded, replaced by the profound hum of divine presence. You no longer need to seek peace because you are peace. You no longer chase clarity because you embody it. The treasure that Yogananda spoke of, that inner wealth, is no longer a distant promise but an inherent reality, flowing through your very being. This new normal manifests tangibly in your daily life. Remember the constant internal battle, the hidden pain of feeling unheard, and the ceaseless mental chatter that plagued your attempts at prayer. That has shifted. You now approach challenges not with anxiety, but with a profound equanimity. The Stoic masters, like Epictetus, would recognize this as the inner citadel, a fortress of self-mastery that no external event can breach. You observe the drama of life, but you are no longer consumed by it. Your consciousness has become the witness, serene, detached, yet deeply engaged. What does this feel like? Imagine waking up in the morning, not to a barrage of anxious thoughts, but to a quiet inner knowing. The demands of the day still exist, but your response is different. You move with purpose, guided by an intuitive current that seems to flow effortlessly. Decisions that once felt overwhelming now appear with a luminous clarity. This isn't a lack of emotion, but an ability to navigate emotions without being submerged by them. You experience the full spectrum of human feeling, but from the secure anchor of your eternal self. Your relationships transform. You interact with others from a place of genuine presence rather than reactive ego. The divine within you recognizes the divine in them. This doesn't mean you become passive. It means your actions are driven by wisdom and compassion rather than fear or attachment. You offer your presence as a blessing, and your words carry the weight of truth. This expanded consciousness redefines your understanding of treasure. You realize that true wealth is not accumulated externally, but radiates from within. It is the richness of a soul in communion with the divine, a wellspring of joy, love, and purpose that is inexhaustible. Material possessions still hold their place, but they are viewed with detachment, as tools for dharma, rather than sources of ultimate fulfillment. The fear of loss diminishes because your true treasure is inviolable. The sovereign command of prayer, which once felt like a demanding practice, now becomes a natural state of being. Your every breath, every action, every thought becomes a silent offering, a continuous dialogue with the cosmic consciousness. You are no longer praying for things. You are living as prayer. This act of attunement, cultivated through Yogananda's teachings and fortified by Stoic resolve, ensures that you remain perpetually connected, a conduit for divine grace. The old self, the one burdened by endless striving and spiritual frustration, is not merely gone. It has been integrated and transmuted. You carry the lessons of that past, but without its limitations. The chains of karma, once perceived as an insurmountable force, are now understood as threads in the tapestry of your soul's evolution, being consciously rewoven by your awakened will. You recognize the eternal dance of cause and effect, and you choose to respond not with reaction, but with conscious divine action. The profound peace you now embody is not born from the absence of problems, but from the presence of divine awareness. It is a peace that transcends understanding, anchoring you in the timeless reality of your soul. This peace is your ultimate armor against the world's chaos, your compass in moments of doubt, and the wellspring of your boundless treasure. You have become a living testament to the power of Yogananda's science, of prayer and the Stoic philosophy of inner mastery. You are not just a seeker anymore. You are a finder, a conduit, a sovereign being living from the heart of your divine consciousness. The truth that was once abstract is now your lived reality. But as you bask in the radiant glow of this transformation, a deeper question emerges, a whisper from beyond the confines of individual awakening. If this treasure, this peace, this clarity is truly inherent to every soul, why then does the world continue to sleep in the throes of Maya? What is your role now that your own eyes are open, in piercing the veil for others, in extending this sovereign command beyond the boundaries of your personal consciousness? You have awakened. You have tapped into the treasure of inner clarity and peace, understanding Yogananda's profound formula for divine connection. But as the cliffhanger from our conclusion hinted, this liberation, this individual awakening, was never meant to be an endpoint. It was a rigorous training, a forging of your soul's sovereignty, for a purpose far grander than your personal enlightenment. What if this profound transformation, this very awakening, was not just for you, but a crucial preparation for an unseen battle, a pivotal moment in the collective consciousness of humanity? The world outside still groans under the weight of Maya, the grand cosmic illusion that keeps billions enslaved in cycles of suffering, seeking treasure in fleeting external pursuits, forever restless, forever adrift. The noise of the ego, amplified by societal structures and media, continues its relentless static, preventing countless souls from hearing the divine whisper within. Your personal peace and clarity are not an escape from this chaos, but a powerful light within it. You, the awakened one, now carry a sacred responsibility. Your sovereign command of prayer, once a personal tool for inner peace, transforms into a beacon for others. Yogananda emphasized selfless service and the collective upliftment of consciousness. Stoicism, too, recognized the duty of the philosopher to contribute to the common good, to live in harmony with universal reason. Your individual dharma now expands. The greater journey is not one of solitary ascent, but of conscious co-creation. Every moment you sustain your inner clarity and peace, every time you engage in sovereign command prayer, you are not just purifying your own karma. You are sending ripples of divine energy into the collective consciousness. You become a living example, a subtle yet profound catalyst for the awakening of others. This is the eternal dance of cosmic consciousness, individual enlightenment fueling universal illumination. But this profound role comes with its own unique challenge, a new and deeper hidden pain. For in stepping into this expanded dharma, you will inevitably encounter the resistance of the sleeping world, the skepticism, the fear, and the very forces of illusion that you, yourself, have transcended. How do you remain anchored in your divine treasure and peace when confronted with the collective suffering that seeks to pull you back into its illusion? And how do you discern the exact nature of this next great spiritual battle? A battle not just for your soul, but for the soul of humanity itself. that demands a sovereign command far beyond what you have ever imagined. The journey you've undertaken is not for the faint of heart. You have confronted the ego's noise, embraced the sovereign command of Yogananda's prayer, and unveiled the profound treasure of inner clarity and peace. Now, having glimpsed the greater spiritual battle that awaits, the question is no longer if you will act, but how you will forge your legacy. You are not merely an individual seeker. You are an architect of awakened consciousness, a living testament to the power of divine transformation. Your unique experience, your hard-won peace, and your profound clarity are not meant to be hoarded, but shared with those who are still lost in the labyrinth of Maya. The world hungers for authentic spiritual truth, for guidance that transcends superficiality. If you recognize yourself in this calling, if the eternal whisper of Dharma resonates within your awakened soul, then it is time to take the next deliberate step. This isn't a passive subscription. It is an active enlistment in a sacred mission. Join our community of awakened souls. Subscribe to this channel. Activate the notification bell and ensure you do not miss the profound insights and practices that will empower you to navigate the collective chaos and contribute to the grand awakening. Engage with the content, share your insights, and help us amplify the divine signal. Your voice, your presence, and your sovereign command are crucial. The path of the architect of awakened consciousness demands courage, discipline, and an unwavering commitment to truth. It is a path of continuous evolution, where every challenge becomes an opportunity to deepen your connection to the divine. We are building a fortress of consciousness, brick by brick, guided by the timeless wisdom of Yogananda, Stoicism, and the Bhagavad Gita. This is where you transform your personal peace into a universal beacon. This is where your inner clarity becomes the foundation for collective awakening. Are you ready to claim your rightful place among those who dare to dream of a world reborn in divine consciousness? Join us. The eternal journey continues.